Hi, and welcome to this week's episode of the Property Pod. My name's Libby, and I'm joined today by Tom. Welcome to the podcast, Tom.
Thank you.
And he's a director of Bloomfield Grey Estate Agents in Colchester. So welcome to the podcast, thanks very much for coming on. So tell me a bit about Bloomfield Grey Estate Agents then.
Thanks, Libby. So we launched in 2016, so quite a young firm, and we sell predominantly middle and high value homes throughout Suffolk and Essex.
And are you seeing any changes in what people want for property after COVID, do you think?
Yeah, we are. So since the end of lockdown one, we've seen a noticeable increase in people looking for larger houses, but particularly houses that can give them office and work from home space, often not in the main house, which is quite helpful. And also garden space as well has become more sought after.
I can imagine. Lots of people wanting home offices, I imagine, or just like work from home, sort of bigger spaces for their house for that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, plenty of households now where, you know, Mr. and Mrs. are both working from home, and all of a sudden that's 2 extra rooms you need if they want to study each. So yeah, that's helpful if you can have something in the garden, but a garage. But you know, the best offices are almost always sort of the ones that are kind of above garages where you get a proper amount of space.
That'd be very cool.
Broadband connection.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, not in the middle of the countryside, I suppose. Well, you can get a bit.
Well, it's random because sometimes actually sometimes there are sort of villages in the middle of nowhere that seem to have lightning fast broadband connection, and others, you know, places that you think would be quite well connected and they're not. But what's happening is people are quite sensibly checking that out more now than before they offer on a house, rather than moving in and discovering that they've got an amazing office. And
especially in 2021 when everyone's glued to their phone like me.
yeah, exactly. So that's definitely been a change.
Yeah, okay. And do you see sort of like any locations that are more popular since COVID, and just in general for luxury homes?
Yeah, so there's been a definite shift in. So a lot of people, particularly here is quite a London-orientated part of the country, I suppose, and a lot of people that work in London have now got the freedom to work from home. Maybe not all the time, but you know, perhaps 3 days a week, and a lot of those people are kind of using that freedom to live in places that they otherwise couldn't have done. So, you know, everywhere's busier because the market's just been busier. Yeah, that's just a fact, but. You'll see a disproportionate increase in demand for houses, let's say in mid-Suffolk, where 2 years ago, if you were commuting every day to Liverpool Street, that would have been quite tough.
That was me.
That was you. Okay, well, you
so it's like so much nicer being in the countryside now, definitely. You see the benefits of it anyway, than a long commute and just stuffy trains and stuff, Yeah,
and it happened almost immediately. I mean, within sort of 2 weeks of sort of the market reopening, which I think was May 2020, we were meeting people who obviously could not wait to get out of London. I guess lockdown probably compounded that feeling
definitely.
As well.
Yeah, I can imagine being stuck in a flat. Yeah.
And they were suddenly saying, right, I'm going to sell my flat in North London and buy an actual house with a garden and all the nice things that come with that.
More space, definitely. And what additional costs are involved in buying a luxury home, do you think?
Well, the stamp duty is a big one. Is the killer. Yeah. So if you're in a position where you're spending £1 million on a house, then you've got a £43,000 stamp duty bill, and that's disproportionately higher for £1 million than it is for £500,000. So yeah, it sort of that's something that people really have to think about.
Definitely. And do you think there's like any other like additional things that people need to think about with a luxury home in terms of like costings for sort of getting stuff put in or taken out or anything that you might?
What in terms of the actual move itself? Well, I guess you're going to spend more on removals, so you've probably got more gear.
Yeah.
A large house, generally they're more unusual. They're more likely to have more interesting. They might have rights of way, for example, things like that.
Yeah.
Or there's likely to be more complexities in the conveyancing process. So, and I mean, you at Wells, of course, will know all about that, but more than me. But probably as a result, the legal bill is going to be a bit higher as well.
Yeah. And what are the pros and cons for buying a listed building, do you think?
Well, the pros are that they're beautiful.
Yeah.
And
impressive as well. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
I mean, some of the timber frame houses around here and some of the brick listed buildings are genuinely quite impressive buildings. Hence them being listed. Inside and out, they're lovely houses. The limitation is that you are more restricted on what you as the owner can do to the house to make changes to it. I mean, you really can't be taking away anything that's historic. And I think it's not really so much of an issue unless you're looking at a listed house that needs renovation.
Yeah.
If it's a wreck, then really you've got to do your sums and speak to the council or a listed building consultant before you even make your bid, because quite often you can suddenly discover that the renovation bill is
pretty steep. Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. With
like some of the places you see on, like, I don't know, Homes on Grand Designs or whatever.
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, it's just so different to some of the new modern ones and stuff. So, But what improvements do you think could increase the value of a home, and particularly if the property is built on ample land?
So back to offices, I would say.
Yeah.
Right now, if you've got a house and you've got some money to invest into it, and you just want to add value, the best thing you can do is create some kind of outbuilding, I would say, but make it versatile. So it can be an office, or it can be an annex for a granny, or even an Airbnb. If you add something like that on, then you'll get I think you'll get disproportionate return for your investment.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great. I think there's a lot of trends for that nowadays, with people just trying to have like multiple streams of income and stuff. So it's so interesting, like, you know, thinking about, what could I do to this garage that I don't use anymore, or what could I do for this extra room that I could, you know, maybe rent out or whatever. So yeah, definitely. And if building work or refurbishments are required, when would you recommend starting to plan those? And are you able to negotiate with the seller to help aid those plans?
So if you live in a house and it needs some improvement work and you're thinking about selling it, okay. I always think it's a good idea to just sort of think ahead to the survey that will inevitably take place when you find a buyer for your house. And if there's sort of things that are likely to crop up on the survey, then get them sorted out. You know, leaky windows, whatever it might be. That's not really renovating. That's just maintaining, and that's clever if you can get that done before you launch for sale. Making, actually kind of renovating a house and improving it and decorating and doing things like that, it's all good, but you've got to be careful not to sort of personalize it too much. Keep it, think like a property developer. So try and make it so it appeals to the average buyer of a house. And the key, well, in terms of timing, just have it done before you go for sale.
Yeah. And which security measures do you think people should consider adding to their luxury homes?
Well, I don't see buyers getting particularly excited about security. No. You know, I've sold a lot of houses that have had some very swanky security system. You know, CCTV and very clever alarm systems and things like that. And generally speaking, I think buyers are sort of not too fussed. These are things you can add in, or if you want them yourself. Best security I always hear is a dog. But,
we have two, and they keep us safe. Yeah.
A loud dog, ideally. Gates are another thing. I mean, you know, so I sell houses up in rural Suffolk, where a nice, you know, people are less interested in gates than they are in some parts of Essex. Yeah. But I mean, I think a decent set of timber gates. Yeah. Electric timber gates look quite nice on any house, and people always seem to quite like those.
Yeah, they're like a nice feature as well.
They look nice,
as well as security. Yeah,
and it keeps the dogs and the kids in.
Yeah, you don't have to herd everyone up at the end of the day. Yeah,
exactly.
Very good idea. And do you give advice on the sale of land?
Yeah, we do. So one of our roles, if we see a house, we're asked to consider marketing a house, and it happens to have land. Be that space to build one house or 50 houses, then actually one of our key roles is to make sure that the clients have explored every avenue in that respect. And we do value and sell land as well.
Great. And does obtaining planning permission increase the value of a property?
Yeah. So a house with planning consent can be more appealing than one without, for an extension, say. And anything that makes a house more appealing makes it more valuable. So it does. It's harder to say. Obviously, there's different types of planning permission. So without going into too much detail, but again, that's a good tip. If you're thinking about selling your house, and you something you might be doing, let's say in 6 months, then using that 6 months as your to get your planning permission in place is a really good use of that time.
Yeah, definitely.
Because again, it will just make it easier for people need to do the extension to buy it, because there's just less risk involved.
Yeah, and it's just good to be organised, I suppose, and be practical about the timings and everything with that. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Oh, well, that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast today. It's been really useful to have you on. And for all you guys at home, if you did enjoy this episode, please don't forget to like, share and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next episode.